Next, we have student presenters, Allison, Gloor, and Sara Toombs, who spent this past summer as proud and hardworking recipients of Vira Heinz Scholarships. Allison will discuss the courses she took in Costa Rica and her experiences there, as well as the benefits of the Vira Heinz Scholarship Program. Sara Toombs spent 4 weeks volunteering in Meknes, Morocco, and will share some stories and insights she gleaned as a result of that experience. I'm very proud to present Allison and Sara.
My name is Gloor. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a junior here at Thiel, but I spent 5 weeks in the summer in San Jose, Costa Rica, which is the capital. But before I talk about that, I just want to discuss the Vira Heinz program very briefly. I know that the applicants for this year just got done applying and going through their interviews, so I'm excited for them, and I can't believe that it's been almost a year since I found out that I was awarded the scholarship. But it's an incredible opportunity for young women, and what I really like about the program is that you aren't just thrown into your international experience, you're given guidance, and you get to go to a retreat before you go abroad, and then again when you come back. So those are very valuable, and you're given guidance, and that's what I really like about the program. You're not just all alone, and you have many resources at your fingertips. But what I did while in Costa Rica was I took classes. I took a basic Spanish class and then an elective called Human Rights in Latin America. So those were the classes that I took, and one thing that I really learned how to do was build relationships well, whether it was with my professors there or other students from America, and even my host family. I stayed with a host family, and that was probably my favorite part of the trip. But I was also able to travel to a second country, Panama, and then I also got to see a volcano, which was kind of cool, and the Basilica de Los Angeles, which is a very famous church in Costa Rica. But I went through the CIS Abroad program. It was 5 weeks. I left on July 5th, right after the 4th of July, and got back on August 9th, and 2 weeks later I was coming back to Thiel. But there are other options for students such as ISA and AIFS here at Thiel. Those are the study abroad program providers that Thiel likes to use. And what I learned and gained while I was there was that most people are inherently kind and will help you if you ask for it and if you make an effort to try. Costa Rica is a Spanish-speaking country, and I went there knowing no Spanish, so I had to learn. And when I tried and would ask, even if I said something a little bit wrong, people would be more than willing to help me and answer my questions. I also learned that Americans are pretty spoiled. Going to Costa Rica, just flying in, I was amazed at it's a developing country, so it's not a third world country, but it's still a lot different than being here in the U.S. My host family, their children they had cell phones and stuff, but their house was nowhere near like what you would see in the U.S. It was small, it was tiny, and I think that's important because it allowed them to connect as a family without thinking about material goods. I also learned that laws among countries vary greatly, even just between like Panama and Costa Rica, they're different, and then Costa Rica and the U.S. We were told by our program provider as soon as we got there that you will not do drugs at all, or if you do, you will get in serious trouble. Here in the U.S., you would get in a little bit trouble if you smoke marijuana, for example, but if you did that in Costa Rica, you'd probably be in jail for 2 months before you even got a lawyer, so that was something that they really stressed not to do. I also learned adaptation skills. The example I like to use is that my shower at my host family's house was cold for most of the time, but if that's the only shower you have, that's the shower you're going to take. And then the difference between monochronic time and polychronic time, many people don't realize that, especially if they've never gone abroad, but in Costa Rica, it's very much monochronic. You're doing one thing at a time, and that's the only thing that you're going to be worried about at that particular time. But here in the U.S., we're always trying to juggle a million things. We have this meeting at this time, and then we're on to the next meeting or the next class. So it was kind of nice to just relax a little bit and enjoy that. And then I also learned organization skills. This is why students should study abroad. And it sounds cliche, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You might not, once you get out of college and maybe start a family, you might not get the opportunity to travel or study abroad. And you're able to see the world from a different perspective and kind of really get into their culture and learn what they're all about. And it also allows you to have an awareness of global issues. For example, when I was in Costa Rica, I did some research on human trafficking in Latin America and human trafficking just all over the world. And many people don't know that that's such a large issue. For example, I didn't know that it was that big of a problem before I went to Costa Rica, and it's actually a problem in nearly every country in the world, including the U.S. And also because only 2% of U.S. students will ever get to study abroad, so it's kind of allows you to stand out a little bit, I would say. And this is my favorite picture. Favorite part of Costa Rica. This is a picture of my host family. I stayed with another American student. She's in like the teal shirt. And then the two girls on the end were actually U.S. students that they were bilingual. They were born in foreign countries, in Spanish-speaking countries, but go to school in the U.S. now. So, but they were down there with us. So that was my host mom and dad, and they were very nice, and they treated me like I was their own daughter. So that was kind of cool. But this is a little bit about what I did while I was in my basic Spanish class. We did a lot of compositions and presentations just about our host family and our house there. And then we also had to give a presentation on a tour of our hometown and a recipe. And I was kind of amazed because literally I knew no Spanish besides please, thank you, yes, and no before I went. And by the time I was done, I was able to write in paragraphs in Spanish. So I think if you really put your mind to something, you can definitely accomplish that. And then this is my human rights class. We are sitting at the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which is located in San Jose, Costa Rica. And like I said before, I did research on human trafficking, but visiting the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, that is where human rights abuse cases are tried in all of Latin America, so in South America even too. So it was pretty cool that it was actually in Costa Rica and we were able to go there. All the flags are pictured in the back of that picture. And then I was also able to have a little bit of fun while I wasn't studying, and I got to go whitewater rafting for the first time. It was the fifth best place in the world to go in the Pacquiao River, so that was awesome. And I went zip lining. And then Costa Rica is also known for hot springs, which they're actually man-made. I thought that they were, before I went, I thought that they were just there in the environment, but they're basically just hot pools. And then I also got to go snorkeling in Panama, which was awesome. And here are just some pictures. That is the Basilica over on the left. That's a very famous church. Their money I thought was pretty cool looking compared to the U.S. because it's kind of like holographic and different colored. So, and then the top picture, I'm pictured with my host mom. I was actually there when the soccer team was coming back from the World Cup. So it was pretty crazy. Even though they had lost, everyone was still celebrating in the streets because they're really proud of their country for going so far, even though it's such a little country. And then I also got to see a water fountain, which is cool. And then those are just some other pictures. I got to hold a starfish, so I enjoyed that. But that's all. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sara Toombs and I'm a senior here at Thiel. I graduate in December actually, so almost there. I don't know if any of you noticed on the website for Thiel Study Abroad, there's actually a link to the blog that I did this summer. Thanks. And I made one commitment over my study abroad experience, and that was that I would blog every day. I am an English major, and so I needed to get a little experience in that writing every day field, and so I did complete that goal. And originally I had intended for my blog to be almost a list or a collection of things that I learned in Morocco, and in the first day of my trip, These are the 3 things that I learned. Seafood play will only get you so far. Airplane food in France is considerably better than airplane food in the States. Considerably. Try it. And this world is full of some truly kind people. So after that first day, I thought, wow, if I collected these 3 things that I learned in just the first day, this is not the route that I want to go for this blog. So for the rest of the blog, I continue to just collect photos of my experiences and stories. So for the rest of my presentation today, I'm just going to show you some of the photos from my experience and give you a bit of the details behind some of those photos. So one of my favorite photos that I took over my experience is this photo of an olive market. This is actually an olive market in Casablanca, and I really loved telling this story to all of my family members. The first night that I called home on Skype, I said, we went to this market, and this is a tiny snippet of how many barrels of olives were in this huge open-air market. And the man was so excited to see American students that he told us all to just eat whatever we wanted. Just try any olives we wanted. And I thought, this is going to be great. Like, I tried a million olives. My tongue was so raw from eating these olives that I never wanted to eat another olive again. This is the first experience I had in the not a host family, but the host stay that I had. We stayed in an apartment, and we had a nanny, and she made our meals every day, and she would clean for us, and we really got close to her, almost as though she were our host mother. But the first day we got there in Meknes, she had tea laid out for us. And something that I learned later about Moroccan tea is that the sweeter the tea is, the more the family you're with likes you. Because if they don't like you, they're not going to waste their sugar on you. I experienced a lot of very sweet tea, so I think that I did okay. Something else that I really enjoyed doing while I was in Morocco was studying. There are a number of cafes and juice bars in Morocco, and I learned quickly that the seating that is outside is for men. So if you go to a cafe that only has seating outside, women don't belong there. So my friends and I quickly figured that out and found a really nice juice bar on the street where we lived. And we would go there and have avocado juice, which is the green stuff, and strawberry smoothies and study our Moroccan Arabic. This is one of the other markets that I experienced. These markets smell terrible. They're meat markets, and this is kind of a little display of what the markets look like. There's just meat everywhere, sitting out on counters and hanging from the ceiling. And one of the things I experienced is when older women would walk into the markets, they would let cardboard down so that they didn't have to walk in the blood. This is a picture of the Roman ruins of Volubilis, which was one of the first excursions that I took. We got to run all around in the Roman ruins, and as you can see, I was pretty excited about that. I remember taking this picture, standing for this picture and saying, "Quick, someone take a picture of me touching history." One of the experiences I had was in Fez, which is one of the hubs of production in Morocco. They make a lot of pottery and a lot of leather. So this is an example of some of the pottery. Again, in this store, the men who worked there were very excited to see American students, and they just started shouting out percentages that they would give us off of things if we bought them. So we were left with a lot of pottery that day. These are some of the tanneries in Fez, and this is again one of the worst smells I've ever encountered in my life. And this isn't necessarily a great representation of it, but we were looking down from above, and up above is where they would sell all the leather goods, but there's a large window where you could look out and watch. Men would just put skins in these big barrels of lye and whatnot, and they would just step in, almost like you were making wine out of grapes, and they would just walk all day on these skins to make leather. So, one of the top 5 worst jobs in the world, by the way. This is a classroom where I was able to teach English while I was in Morocco. I actually hosted only 2 classes here in this particular classroom because the students that I had came for 2 classes, and then after the second class, they were university students, so they took their tests and they said that they were done. They were taking a break, so they didn't come back for any more classes. This is one of the greatest friends that I made while I was in Morocco. Her name is Amina, and she had just received this jalapa, which is a traditional dress. This is one of the fancier ones that they would wear to a wedding or something of the sort. And she just received this as a gift from her sister. So we were working together at one of the institutions that I interned at, and everyone was oohing and ahhing over the dress that Amina just got. And so they made me try it on. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll take it to the bathroom and change it to it. And they were like, no, just straight right here and put it on. So that was an interesting experience for me. But I was grateful because that was something that really meant to her that she honored me as a friend, would be to let me try on her very expensive dress. For my 21st birthday, Amina invited me to her home, and I got to have a couscous dinner, traditional style, with her whole family. Everyone was there, grandma, cousins, and we all just ate out of the same large communal dish. And then her daughter actually is a henna artist, and a new henna artist, so she practiced her henna on my hands as a birthday present. I actually was able to meet a lifelong friend while I was in Morocco. This is Katie, and she lives in Ohio. So I went the whole way to Morocco to meet someone from Ohio. And we've since been communicating the entire year, the entire semester that we've both been in school, and just kind of staying in touch and talking a lot about what it's like to be abroad and then come back and have to readjust to American life. I got to go hiking in the mountains. The Atlas Mountains are one of the most beautiful mountains in the world, and I got the privilege of hiking to the top of those mountains and looking down over the valley. Not something I ever want to do again, but not an experience that I would give up. One of my placements, actually, as part of my internship, was at an association for the rights of women. So they had a lawyer, a female lawyer, who would come in and help women understand their legal rights in certain situations, custody battles, and divorce settlements, and those kind of things. And one of the other things that we did at the institution was to have women come in and bake together. And while they would bake together, they would kind of express feelings and almost have a little counseling session together. So they taught me how to make a lot of great cookies, and I tried to teach them how to make American cookies, and they did a lot better than I did. I also helped to set up a photography exhibition hosted in Meknes at the community center, and this sign is the entrance to the exhibition, which is called Too Young to Wed, and it's an exhibition about child marriage, which is not necessarily the highest problem in Morocco, but in surrounding countries and in the Berber communities of Morocco, there's a strong influence of child marriage. This is a very emotional day for me, and the photography in this exhibition is very moving, so if you get a chance to Google Too Young to Wed, I would suggest that. One of my other placements was at a hospital in Meknes, and at the hospital, the top floor is called Luni, which is the nest in French, and babies who are born in the hospital who are immediately given up for adoption go to the top floor, and they will live there until they're approximately 2 to 3 years old, and then they'll move to a full-time orphanage. So I got to go and care for the infants in the nest, and it was amazing. It was a very emotional experience for me, and this little boy was just the apple of my eye, and I loved him, and if I could just put him in my pocket and bring him to America, I probably would. So the last day that I was there, I stayed up all night before we flew home to crochet this blanket, which is actually probably only this big. I'm not that talented. But I decided that I couldn't leave Morocco without leaving a part of who I was with the people that I met there. So I crocheted this tiny blanket with all my rudimentary crocheting skills, and I took it to the hospital and left it with the little boy that you just saw the picture of. And I was assured by all the women who worked there and the people who were part of my program that they would keep it with him as he went through his life. Because in Morocco, it's very, very small. There's a very, very small chance that a child who is in an orphanage will ever be adopted. It is required that you be of the Islamic religion to adopt in Morocco, and most of the time, all those adoptions occur from outside of the country. So one of the stories I tell a lot of people is that we asked one of the women in the orphanages, what's the chance that these babies will find a home, or what's the chance that they'll be adopted? And the woman laughed at me and said, there is no chance, in her broken English. So experiencing that and being in that setting has inspired me to want to pursue work in childcare, orphanage, adoption type settings, and also political advocacy for those kind of situations, and how we can help to influence those children's lives, both in the orphanage setting or by helping them to find homes. So it's inspired passion that will live in me, I think, for the rest of my life.